Hey, this is Craig the Pool Man with Pool Specialists, and today we have a video on a Jandy JXi 400. And if you look at this display, it's coming up with a high limit error. And when I run the spa, of course, it's coming up and hitting that error probably in about 3 to 5 minutes. And what that usually indicates is that's, as I call it, like an idiot light. And that's telling you, well, the high limit is tripping. But why is the high limit tripping? The high limit is actually tripping because of something called the thermal regulator, which is located right there. Now, sometimes it can trip from insufficient flow. So what you want to make sure that you do is, one, you want to make sure that your pump, if you have a variable speed pump, in the heat or spa heat mode or pool heat mode, is running about 2800 to maybe even 3000, just to make sure that you've got sufficient flow and that's not causing your problem. The other thing is, the reality is a lot of the pools today have cartridge filters, and you'll notice that I took, this is the spa, and that spa cartridge filter, I took it out just to remove any question on flow capability. And then the other thing that you want to do is you want to look at all your check valves and make sure that your check valves are opening up sufficiently, that there's not a bad check valve that's not opening up and reducing the flow. So I've run through all of those diagnostics, and I am very, very certain that my problem over here happens to be the thermal regulator. And the thermal regulator, I've got the box right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you the link below on Amazon, and you'll take this thermal regulator, and I'm going to demonstrate how to actually change it. It's pretty easy. Jandy did a really awesome job with this heater, making it easy to work on. It's actually a lot easier to work on than a master temp. It's a lot better thought out. So this is a thermal regulator. Let me take it out of the box. So here we have the thermal regulator. You'll notice that this is pretty much stainless steel all around. So yes, it looks very similar to a car thermostat. However, car thermostats aren't stainless steel all around, and they have antifreeze running through them. So nothing real corrosive. A matter of fact, if anything, that antifreeze helps reduce the corrosion. And then they give you a replacement bracket and then a brand new screw. So this is going to be a little bit difficult to show you because I'm doing this myself, but effectively this is where your thermal regulator is. You'll notice that there's 6 screws around it. So we're going to take those 6 screws out, and then I'm going to show you how the thermal regulator actually is mounted in there and comes out. All right, so I tend to take a lot of things for granted. So of course I did shut off the pump, and I did close the bypass to this as well. And I turned off the power to the heater. So just so that you know to do that, because if you don't, of course, as you start pulling these screws out, things are going to flood. So we're just going to pull this out, and there's some residual in there. And here is my thermal regulator. So here's the screw that holds it in. I'm going to take that screw out, and you can see the bracket right there. And then we're going to take the thermal regulator out. So I removed the screw. You want to be really careful that you hold on to that bracket, because that can easily get into places where it shouldn't be. And you do have to kind of tip it out a little bit. But if we look at this thermal regulator, we can see that it's got a bunch of corrosion on it. So of course it's not opening up all the way. So of course we needed to replace it. Also, whenever you open one of these up, you want to make sure you clean everything out. There's like a bunch of grass and stuff that was stuck in here. That's really not that good. And then the gasket for this is on the cover.
So make sure that that doesn't fall off or fall out of place, because if it does, this is going to leak when you put it back together. And again, you can see all the grass on this. So we've got the new regulator. We're going to go ahead and put that in and show you what that looks like. So the easiest thing to do is to take that bracket and that screw and thread it in just a little bit. And this bracket, of course, goes up and down. And then that thermal regulator, there's a little groove on the bottom that you have to put it in. So you kind of have to lift it up a little bit and then set it down into the groove. And if it's not in the groove, you can see a space between the thermal regulator and the actual IO manifold. So you want to make sure that you don't have that space and that you have lifted it into that groove. And then once you've got that, then you can tighten up that screw. All right, so now you can see that that screw is tight and this really doesn't wobble around a whole lot. So now all we have to do, make sure our gasket's in place, and we are going to put this back on. And you can see that if you try to put it on wrong, then it will not fit. So they did as good a job as possible to make it idiot proof. So we'll go ahead and make sure that we get this on correctly, and presto bingo, I'll show you once I get it on. All right, so there you have it. The screws have been returned to their original position. So we put our bypass together, put all the screws in, and we went ahead and closed the bypass, allowing water to get to the heater. We put our filter back in, we turned our power back on, started up our pump in auto mode, and put the heat on. And as you can see, it is now working perfectly. So we are closing in on 104 degrees. So we are done. And with that, I hope you found this video educational. If you did, please give us a thumbs up and follow us. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.